Welcome to the Christmas Special 2020. Yeah, we are very happy that you are here, and I directly have to tell something to the director that we are hearing ourselves in our ear, so this is a bit confusing, but we will fix that in a second. We start here, and let me first tell you about the history of the Christmas Special if you're joining it for the first time, because it was offline in the past years and now it's online. So this was started in 2012 by Daniel Hein from IAIK at TU Graz, and then Johannes Winter joined later on for several years. In 2017, Michael Schwarz and me and several others from IAIK took over and reshaped this into a new show. So today I'm also joined by Claudio Canella. Of course, every good show needs basically a German moderator and co-moderator with roots in Italy.
Yeah, I mean, that's true. We Italians, we bring a lot to the show, right? We are always fun. And today, we have this new concept. Do you quickly want to introduce what the new concept is like?
So we try to transfer this concept that we had offline with a lot of hacks and exploits and vulnerabilities. Thanks to the director. This is very good. I hope we are still audible in the stream. This is new that we are doing this online, and we thought we have to. Okay. I'm just a bit confused by what is going on now. So let me explain this new concept. So we looked at shows that are existing online and also in the TV, shows like Wetten, das, Jahresrückblick shows. So the annual review, what happened in the year, the new newslines, the headlines. And we thought, well, we can combine all of this into a new show. And so we have 12 guests today, and I think this will be a quite awesome show. So let's have a seat and let's take a look at yeah, what we are going to talk about. This show has a lot of InfoSec, and InfoSec to many might not be something that they are familiar with.
Yeah, I mean, we are pretty much always like people at home, or so they ask us about what we do, and we always try to, or at least we think that we look like the people on the left side, very civilized, but in the end, we are all a little bit crazy, I would say. And we see this a lot in our office as well. Pretty much all of us are a little bit crazy, I would say, when we talk about our topic. So we also looked up what is the definition of InfoSec. And as it says here, it's a profession that turns a normal person into whiskey drinking. I don't know, you're not that big on whiskey, right?
No, I don't drink whiskey.
I like drinking whiskey, so yeah. Swearing, yeah, we do that quite a bit. Paranoid, I would also say in certain aspects, yes. Disheartened to curmudgeonous with no hope for the future of computers or humanity. I would say we still have a little bit of hope, but we'll see at the end of the show today how much hope is left when we discussed what has happened this year. So last year we had all the things that happened in 2019. We did the show, I think, in the middle of December 2019. So there was already stuff happening right after our show last year. And I think you were also involved there. I mean, what is after after our show?
Definitely, yeah. We've been there several years. We actually had talks there. So one talk that I gave there was together with Kit Murdoch, and that was about Plundervault, a vulnerability that was became public last year. And of course, we just want to neutrally report about things that we had last year.
So my note says shameless promotion of our work, part 1. So the careful reader or the careful listener will already gather from that there will be a little bit more of that throughout our talk. So we are honest about it. Daniel says it's more or less. We want to be neutral. I call it shameless promotion. So
let's go on to the next talk, because we had a second talk there as well about Zombie Load. Zombie Load was also something that got public last year. And
I mean, that was already public in, May?
That's true, but the presentation at CCC was in December after the last year's Christmas special. So it's just fair to mention it here.
I think I actually saw parts of your talk back there.
Okay.
I mean, it's after Christmas, nobody has time there.
But that's why we have this before Christmas.
Yeah. So then, yes, afterwards, the calendar year switched. We're now in 2020. And everything comes to a halt.
Especially in 2020.
Yes. I mean, 2020 was a very different year.
Yeah.
I mean, no traveling. I would say there was no traveling just for us. There was something else that went around. I know what you mean. Like a sort of virus went around.
That's right.
I'm not sure do you know which one I'm talking about?
Of course I know which one you're talking about.
Really?
Yeah.
Then say it.
Well, the virus that we are all talking about.
So I think I'm looking at something else. Or I'm thinking of something else. And it's the Ransomware World Tour.
Okay,
and it actually happened throughout the year. It was very active. And we start in the city administration in Alsfeld, Germany, which was infected by ransomware. So everything there came to a halt. They were not able to do anything.
That's a beautiful city.
I don't know. I've never been there, but it looks very nice on the picture. I mean, it might have been quiet as well because you couldn't communicate with the administration there.
Sure, yeah.
And actually, they wanted bitcoins. Bitcoins right now is also quite hot.
Yeah.
So that's also something. But as it's usual with ransomware, they simply refuse to pay it.
Not always, but in many cases.
In many cases, yes.
Yeah.
And it's also what is more or less the recommendation. You shouldn't pay it. But yeah, our tour doesn't stop there. We also go on to the Superior Court in Berlin. It was also infected by ransomware, and it took them months to fix. So
I read it took 9 months. Yes, after 9 months, they were still affected by that. Yeah.
And everyone who has ever had to do anything with courts, they are usually slower from the beginning. So I'm not sure. I saw a report where the judges there actually said that they got new machines and they are more or less like typewriters because they don't have any VPN connection. And So yeah, there was actual data stolen as well, which is not good for a court. But it continued. Also university, we are also in the university business.
University Bochum. I've been there in 2019 for.
I remember.
So
did you leave something behind there when you left?
No. No, this was also independent of the cybersecurity people there. So of course this is the main administration.
Yeah.
And maybe this is also a good point to clarify or to highlight that this can happen to everyone.
Yes.
Because you always have some weakness somewhere that can be exploited. Of course, in some cases it's more of a fail than in others, but in the end it can happen to everyone.
My first thought when I saw this headline was they are quite famous for cybersecurity.
Yeah, but it was a completely different.
Of course, it's not their job to do that. Their job is research. But yeah, it didn't stop there again. So we also went to the public utility in Ludwigshafen. So it's an energy provider.
Yeah, this doesn't sound really good to me. This sounds a bit dangerous.
And it's also one of the things that we've seen quite a bit in these ransomware stories, that they were infected by email. So a lot of social engineering. It's not really hacks that we see.
Yeah.
It's just, employees are sometimes careless, especially now with home office and so on. And there was actually 500 gigabyte of confidential data stolen, and it wasn't really encrypted. So it was more or less an instance of public shaming. Either you give us money or we'll inform the public about that. Then we went on. Do you remember what this was about?
Oh yeah. So the thing is, they had a double-digit million range of ransom that they wanted to have. So this was really just too much, right?
Yeah. For some companies, paying money in the double-digit range is simply impossible. So in the end, sometimes data gets published on the darknet.
Yeah.
And then we had a very prominent case. It was with the GSMS law firm in New York. They have a lot of very famous clients. What I've seen, it's like Lady Gaga, Madonna, U2. Some confusion was there about Donald Trump being there as well, but that was refuted.
Yeah.
But they also got hit by ransomware. And I mean, that's perfect for ransomware because you have data from very famous people that can be worth quite a lot. So they asked for, in the beginning, for 21 million, they didn't pay it. So the ransom increased to 33 million. And I haven't seen anything if it was paid or not, but I guess not.
So we see that ransomware got quite around the globe. I've never been to New York. I would like to go there.
I've been there last year. So really, really nice.
Last year, like in 2020, in 2019?
2019, we also have the Spanish railway station,
Spain,
a state-run system organization that was hit. And it seems like we have Ruby on Rails. Maybe is the new thing ransomware on Rails?
It sounds like a good framework, ransomware on Rails. But Rails, there's something that I've been talking about for years already, something that I want to see in the next, something that I don't want to see in the next years, and I hope that we find a solution to that, but that I believe that we will see in the next years. It's not ransomware on Rails, but it's ransomware in cars. I envision something like the ransomware saying you, pay me $100 in Bitcoin, or the gas pedal doesn't work anymore, or worse, the brake pedal doesn't work anymore.
Especially if it hits you while driving.
And also in 2020, there actually was a car vendor that was hit by ransomware.
Yeah, and I think there have also been like a lot of research into the security of cars. So we have seen that people were able, via radio, to control the acceleration or the throttle. So
we need to find solutions for that. But as said, if you go to the next slide, Honda in Japan was hit by ransomware.
Yes, and I think actually took down pretty much all of their manufacturing. So all the employees got a day off for a day.
Yeah, they
might be happy about it. Who knows? It's a free day off. But the company itself wasn't too happy about it. But it's not just cars that we have. We also have a lot of gaming today. This year you couldn't do anything else but game, I guess. So,
except if you're ransomware, you get to travel all around the planet.
Or if you bought Cyberpunk, then you cannot game it either. So we had that Ubisoft Montreal was hit, as well as Crytek in Germany. And in the case of Ubisoft, the data was published on the darknet, so they actually leaked parts of the source code for Watch Dogs Legion, the newest game.
Yeah.
And for Crytek, they did not do that. They simply encrypted all the data, and yeah, Crytek was shut down for a while. But yeah, then we had more or less one of the most prominent cases, at least in the German region, right? That was the Citrix vulnerability in the Citrix application delivery controllers for that was used in hospitals. I think it was the hospital in Duisburg, Germany, and that actually resulted in the death of one person. So the district attorney actually started an investigation for involuntary manslaughter. And the hospital actually simply said, we've done everything right, we updated our system, it was not our fault at all.
Yeah, and this is maybe a good point, because also last year, not in 2020, but in 2019, Anders Fogg gave a talk at TU Graz, and that was exactly about ransomware on hospitals. So maybe let's welcome our first guest here in the stream. Hello, Anders.
Hello, Anders.
Oh, we can't hear you yet, can we? Okay.
Are you
Hello?
Are you still muted?
No, we can hear you.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Very good, Anders. So you are working at Intel, right? Thanks for joining us. How about your past? How did this happen? How did you end up at Intel? Do you have you don't have a formal CS background, right? Yeah. That totally makes sense. And you are still working at Intel, and I guess it's still very exciting to see all the new developments going on. Like new microarchitectures that have better mitigations. Yeah.
Can you hear us still? Seems like we missed some audio.
Yeah, we missed some audio. Let me just check where the audio is gone, and I'll be back in a second.
In the meantime, everyone just needs to look at me spinning in my chair a little bit. So maybe we can also quickly use this time to discuss. Yeah, we have Anders here with our first guest. We have very prominent people from the research community and also from industry to talk about things today. So I have no echo in my voice right now, so I'm not sure what the issue is. Sorry for the delay. I mean, we never tried anything with this complicated of a setup before, so there are bound to be a few problems along the way. We are not a professional TV station, I would say.
Okay, so this is live. Things like this can happen.
Yes.
So now we do hear Anders, do we?
I don't hear him right now.
I also don't hear him.
Can you hear me?
Ah, yeah,
Yes,
we can hear
now
you.
we
Yeah,
can hear you.
now we can hear you. Perfect. Okay, so maybe we continue here with the next part, and the sound issues are now fixed. Okay. We start with the first hack of the day.
Yes.
And this one is by a student from TU Graz, Marcel Nageler. And Marcel Nageler will join. Okay, I hear that I might still have to step out of the stream another time, but maybe if you introduce Marcel Nagler and then. Oh, this is wrong, actually. Okay, so the director tells me now it's not Marcel Nagler joining, it's Martin Schwarzel from TU Graz. Okay, that's very good.
So yeah, maybe you can.
Martin, hello.
Hi, Martin.
Hi, everyone.
Hi, we can hear you. Perfect.
Perfect.
Mm-hmm.
You can hear me? That's
Yeah.
perfect.
Yes.
Can you see my screen?
I can't see it right now.
Can you see my screen?
Also seems like we have a little bit of lag here. At least
Yeah, seems so for me too.
on my side. Yeah,
So
meanwhile,
now you see my screen, right?
I don't see it on my screen yet, but maybe in production we see it.
This mode basically takes. Oh, I hear myself, Lucas. Can you? Oh, okay, now I muted myself. So I will just continue with explaining the exploit because otherwise I get some troubles because I've got some record here. So the AES-CFP mode can be combined with a cryptographic primitive like AES encrypting stuff. So the first thing you need to know is about there is this secret IV random which is passed into some encryption function like a cipher like AES and puts out some random some ciphertext depending on the key. So this is applied on some random input vector, and this byte is then exclusive ORed with the plain text message, which you see here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and so on. And the special thing about this mode is that it keeps on encrypting byte by byte and only encrypts one single byte. So usually you would run it with 128-bit, which encrypts a whole block. But this kind of exotic mode uses only 8-bit, which is only 1 byte. So that's kind of the first thing, which is kind of exotic. And the crucial thing here is what happens if you and also the plain text message is fixed. There is a probability of 1 over 256 that you will get also a ciphertext which contains all zeros. So this is because of that. XOR the plain text, and if you have the probability that you get a ciphertext with all zeros, then if you XOR it once, it will pass through all the other encryption steps, and you will get also a ciphertext with all zeros. So now you think, okay, what can we do with that? It's kind of interesting, but I guess nobody would use this mode like that. So what they call it is military grade encryption. And where would they use stuff like that? They use stuff like that, unfortunately, on Windows servers. So that's kind of crucial. And what can we actually do it? Where do they use it? So they use it to authenticate and log in on a server. So just to make it short, the client sends a challenge. This will be authenticated with exactly this mode, which I explained to you. So you will get back, you first send the challenge, get the response back, and then you're trying to authenticate. So you just need now 256 login attempts because they're not restricted to successfully authenticate against the Windows domain controller, which is actually pretty nice. And what would be the next step to try to do is setting a new password for the overall domain controller. And again, you would use some kind of 0 bytes, because all the communication has to have some authorized value. And if you look at those values, I won't explain it into too much detail, but the encrypted password you send basically contains a lot of zeros. And again, also the size of this will be 0, which then leads to an empty password. And that's why it's called a 0 logon. And the nice thing here is, with that thing, you can, or vulnerability, you can get a domain admin everywhere. And to make this a bit more Christmassy, I thought of the following scenario. So you have Santa, who told me that he has no clue what to present to Krampus, his little helper, so Santa's little helper. You all know him. So he told me he set up internal Windows server, and this looks as follows. So there is a small domain, and there are a few computers, but Krampus is, for instance, a domain controller, and there are a few users like Santa Claus. And what we need to do is that Santa knows that there is a file with the wish list for all the stuff on the on his local account. So I will show you now how this works. So first,
so before we start with the actual hack, we have to show
the CFP itself
the field of
actually produces ciphertext in this mode, which is all 0. And I got quite some few tools. So for instance, one that allows me to dump the domain credentials. So using that one, I could try a password, but I actually don't know the password. I tried, for instance, ASDF1234, and it denies me. So, but now I'm trying to perform this exploit, this 0 logon, and I already have it here. I started, now it performs all these authentication requests and tries to change the password to the empty string. So let's see whether this works. It says exploit complete, which is actually pretty neat. And now I perform again the same tool.
Just a second.
I try to dump the secret. Let's see. I just press the enter button, and now, wow, magically, it just dumps me all the credentials from the local, or the password hashes from the local accounts, and also from, for instance, from Santa and so on. So what can we do now with that? So I have another tool to authenticate with the. What? I can't hear you. Let me check. Once again. Hello, hello. Can you hear me? Can you say something now?
I can hear you, Martin.
Okay. So I kind of was muted. So did I miss something?
Yeah, we need, before we start with your bet, we need to ask Anders his opinion whether you succeed in getting the domain controller access.
I thought you were already talking about.
No, we were not. Okay. Haven't yet talked about it. So obviously in Bet and Us we have this this format where our guests bet something. I mean, we are already quite far along the hack, I guess. So Anders, unfortunately, we already went too far. So yeah, I think that's. Sorry, I crashed into something. We need to talk with you a little bit about something else. So, what do you think does the future of InfoSec look like? Do you think that we see more hacks like this? I mean, you have been quite a bit into the incident response teams, like we just had an incident with the hospital. Do you think we will see more hacks like this? I would totally agree with you with that statement. I do think that there will be a lot more attacks like this. As Martin has demonstrated here, it's actually quite easy to do this. So
yeah.
Are you already finished with your whole hack?
Oh no, I wanted to present the wish list for itself. So maybe if you give me another few seconds.
Okay, I think we have a couple of seconds.
Okay, now I will log in on the domain admin and will look for the local users using the net user command. And then I will change the password for Krampus. So on this one, I need to fulfill the password policies. I will take this one. Okay, this actually works. And with that, I can log out and log in again as Krampus. So then I will use this password. And you see, I have total control over the whole PC and internet domain, and it's really nice. And you see the hidden wish list of Krampus. So I would like to ask Anders, what are your wishes for Christmas?
If you had asked me 10 minutes ago, I would have said kind demo gods. I think for the rest of the evening, I hope that comes true as well. But now that we have been granted this wish, I'm not sure what I would want for Christmas. Maybe a bit of vacation.
Yeah, so also from our side, thank you, Martin, for your interesting hack. And also, Anders, sorry for the technical difficulties. We hope it gets a lot better during the evening. It's always difficult to be the first. For you, the advantage is here that now you did not have to bet anything. So I guess you would have bet that it works. So you either way would not have been, it would have not been necessary for you to actually do your the penalty of your bet if you lost. But again, sorry everyone for technical difficulties, and we'll try to get everything run a little bit smoother from now on. So with that, maybe Daniel will join back in soon. Otherwise, I think we're more or less done with our first guest. Thank you again, Anders. Merry Christmas. And I hope we talk again soon. Martin, I'll see you on Monday.
Yeah, probably. So bye and Merry Christmas also from my side.
Thank you. Bye. So, is Daniel joining again? Not. Let's see. Okay. Daniel says he will not join right now, so maybe we can switch back to a slideshow so that we can see the rest of the stories that we had throughout the year. So my presenter seems to have stopped working, Daniel. So yeah, that brings us to our next story. We're now start in the beginning of January. We start with a hack that happened already in 2018, but the investigation to this did not start until the beginning of the year. And this was the hack of Jeff Bezos, the founder of Amazon, who was actually hacked using a message from apparently, or at least that's what's alleged, by Saudi Arabia's crown prince, so Mohammed bin Salman, in 2018. And he sent him a message that actually infiltrated the phone and extracted information from there. Somehow the presenter doesn't like me. Let's try turning it on and off again. Now it should work. So within hours after sending the message by Saudi Arabia, huge amounts of data were exfiltrated. And this is very interesting because just 5 months after this hack, Jamal Khashoggi from the Washington Post, a newspaper organization is actually owned by Jeff Bezos, was killed by a hit squad sent by allegedly the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia. And it is more or less believed that he wanted to influence the way that the Washington Post presents Saudi Arabia in their news stories. This was allegedly would not have been possible without the information stolen from his phone. And there was another thing that is very interesting, that after 9 months after the hack, the National Enquirer, a company which is owned by AMI, published messages of Jeff Bezos and his extramarital affair, which ultimately resulted in his divorce and his wife getting very, very rich. I mean, she was obviously rich before. So there it is also said that AMI denies that they got the information from Saudi Arabia and this hack, but there's a very close relationship between Mohammed bin Salman and the CEO of AMI. And we will show you the first part of an actual message. It's more or less like a sexting message by Jeff Bezos to his affair. And just to spare you the details, we will not show the later parts because it's, yeah, as we can see, it's not very good. With this, we can move on to our next story in January. This was a revival of more or less Zombie Load, where we saw that the L1DES vulnerability, where we were actually the first finder and already reported this vulnerability in Zombie Load. But we actually did not put the proof of concepts online because it was not patched at this point in time, so felt very, very uncomfortable to do that. And other people then published a paper on that, on the same topic, which was more or less already explained in the Zombie Load paper by Michael Schwarz and other people from our group. With this, we can more or less conclude January and move on to our next month. So we move on to February. And this is again, more or less like every year, or at least the last 2 years, it is again about sudo. We all know this famous XKCD comic, Make Me a Sandwich. What, make it yourself, sudo make me a sandwich, and then it happens. And somehow every year we get this again, another sudo vulnerability. We had one last year. Actually, I presented it last year and demonstrated it live. And the title of my presentation last year fits perfectly again for this year. So, oops, I did it again. And the vulnerability itself is actually quite trivial because in sudo you have this option that you can enable the password feedback so that you can actually see what you've been typing, but not the actual password, but you see like the asterisk. And there is now this vulnerability in there. The feature is normally disabled by default, except on Mint, where it is enabled by default. All the other distributions more or less disable it. And here in this vulnerability, we can see here that we have this Perl script that does nothing else than print a large string and pass it on to the pseudo binary. And the vulnerability then is that the -s parameter should normally disable this password feedback option, but it does not. So this is the first vulnerability, because you then try with -s, you try to write back into the Perl script, which you cannot, you get the write error. And then with this write error, the buffer is not cleared correctly, but its length is reset and you write outside of the buffer. So you get a typical buffer overflow, and which, I mean, some of our students here, they are currently doing the secure software development course. This can be very bad. You should definitely not do that. And it can result in privilege escalation. Afterwards, we have the story about the PSI, the German Institute for Security, and they actually come up with the information that you should not change the password regularly. The NIST actually did this already in 2017, but German institutions are sometimes slow. And then we have Let's Encrypt. Some of us are using it for our own websites. It was in 2015, more or less they started, and now they have their 1 billion certificate issued in in February 2020. And we can also see that the team in the street is still a very small team of 16 people. And back then, people said that automation at a huge scale isn't possible. I think it's now been demonstrated with them doing this, that it is actually possible. With this, we are more or less at the end of February. Then we all know what happened in the beginning of March. So we had this, more or less the COVID outbreak also here in Europe. We went into lockdown. So what is then necessary? I mean, schools needed to do online teaching, so they switched, as well as universities, they switched completely to distance learning. And we have to do Zoom, for instance. And Zoom did not have a good year. There's a little bit of a theme in what we do this in this session today. Yeah, they had quite a few security problems. One was that they claimed that they have 256-bit end-to-end encryption since 2016. We'll discuss this later on. But yeah, it seems like we heard a lot about Zoom already before, because we had it last year. Last year, Zoom had this problem with their installer, and Apple actually forced their installer to be removed. So more or less the web server was removed from Macs. We thought back then, so yeah, we hope that they now work on the security, because now with COVID, they had a huge increase in users. We can see this here on this slide. So more users, we hope that they do a lot more with security. But as it turns out, more users also comes with new problems. We had this instance of Zoom bombing in March, where users were simply able to enter Zooms of other people, so meetings of other people, and fill it up with porn or whatever. This is simply because it's not a strict security problem. It's more or less because people are very, very careless with the meeting links. They post pictures and fill it that everyone can't join it, because we don't have passwords yet. Then there was this famous instance in November where one reporter joined a meeting by the European Union Council, simply because the minister posted a picture containing the link where 5 out of the 6 password digits were shown. And it's very easy to brute force a single digit. Then there was also this very famous story about, Zoom didn't really know what end-to-end encryption means. For them, it was endpoint to endpoint, so it's not user to user, but it was already from you as the user to a server, and the server was then able to more or less listen to everything you did. And then it was also discovered that the keys are also not 256-bit, instead it is AES 128, which is already a lot less secure than AES 256. So this is not the only problem with the AES key sizes. It turned out that the keys were actually generated on Chinese servers. We are all a little bit familiar, I guess, with the privacy in China is a little bit different than it is here in Europe. And this was even the case that they generated the keys there if all the participants are in North America, for instance. They claimed that they fixed it on April 3rd, but there's still no fix for end-to-end security. With this, we can move on to another thing that happened in March, and actually one thing that we presented last year at the Christmas Special as well. It was actually done by Michael Schwarz. He's no longer at our institute, but he presented a hack by hacking more or less one of these presenters. Why is that possible? Well, the presenter is more or less a keyboard, and you can do everything with it that a normal keyboard can do. And yes, so there was a mitigation for it, more or less called pulp. But it's not like this pulp, it's not like a real octopus. It's also not really like this, because it's more or less, it was presented by Google that you can have software that runs and fixes more or less, or it times keyboard keyboard messages that come in via USB to see that you have they were actually generated automatically or by a human. So the solution is more or less like a condom, but in software. So we have now a solution for this. So my presenter stopped working again.
Ah, the presenter is not working.
Yeah, it's not working.
That's a bit odd. There are a lot of...
now it seems to have moved on again.
Perfect.
So, yeah, I think, Daniel, I've talked now quite a bit, so I think you can talk.
Yeah, maybe let's get back to COVID. Thank you. So let's get back to COVID. A new health website by the health department in Austria was actually informing about the new cases, the spread of COVID. But in the background, they just used a simple database, and indeed the clicker does not work. I don't know why. Maybe the window is not in focus. Okay. And yeah, they used a simple format, and people looked at this. This was just a Grafana interface.
So, yeah.
And yeah, you could directly read information from there. Some information like whether the person died or whether the person actually survived or whether it's still an active case. This was actually not contained in this database, but
apparently they knew that this is sensitive information. I mean, the rest with age, city of birth, or whatever is apparently not that important. But they actually had to take it down, the website, for a little bit.
2020 also. This is also great. And again, the clicker does not work. So we are struggling here to click forward on the slides. Okay. When you order takeaway on Wish, this was also in early 2020. Oh, sorry. Someone was clicking ahead. When you order takeaway on Wish, then what AMD got was, takeaway, but in a different way. This was a vulnerability, and March 2020. This is already...
Yes, actually this is more or less the shameless promotion of our work part 2.
Why? This was actually in the media.
Yes, it was in the media, and I mean, I was not involved in this paper or anything, but if I remember correctly, there were quite a few people who insinuated a little bit of a conspiracy theory.
Yeah, because it said funded by Intel. Yeah.
I mean, is it a conspiracy theory or is it a conspiracy if we actually more or less directly say who funds us?
Yeah, I think we will watch the next one first, because also in March there was the LVI paper that got public, and that one has a very nice paper trailer. Let's take a look at this trailer. I can't click.
I think it's always when the focus is on...
There's one thing you know about me. I specialize in a very specific type of security. Micro-architectural security.
You're talking about Meltdown.
Mr. Van Burg has an idea he would like to discuss with you.
Spotting Meltdown?
Not exactly. We turn Meltdown around. You bring the subject into a vault, and then they fill it with their secrets.
Then you break in and leak it.
Well, it's not strictly speaking leaking. It's called load value injection. I think we overlooked one square. And this last square, that's LVI.
We mustn't be afraid to add a few more fences, darling.
Whether our second guest is already ready, maybe Dr. can let me know.
Yeah, we should see you now.
Oh, perfect. So welcome our second guest.
Welcome.
Directly from actually this research, and we've already seen him in the
trailer. Yeah.
So Johan Bulk from KU Leuven in Belgium.
Yeah. Until recently a PhD student, but now
Yes.
he's a postdoc and apparently an actor.
Yeah.
I have a no career.
Very nice, very nice. So how is it like studying InfoSec in Leuven?
It's a great place to study InfoSec, I think.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of freedom, which I have really used throughout the PhD to look into various topics.
I've been to Leuven for a month in 2019, and something that is really something that I took away from that was probably a liver that was a bit worse than before, because the Belgian beers are really really interesting, and really some are really good.
So I remember the messages you wrote all of us about the Belgian beer.
Some of them are very sweet, and I'm not really up for that, but the others I like.
So you're
one of the biggest features of Belgium as well.
There's a large variety of beers and flavors.
So you're Dani already mentioned that you recently finished your PhD. It was a great PhD, and you were one of the examiners, right?
Yeah.
So how is life now as a postdoc in Belgium?
In a way, not too different, but it's nice. I try to take a bit of rest now, and it's very nice to look back at the PhD as a finished project.
Yeah.
It's really a different mindset.
Yeah, it was a very impressive PhD
yes,
thesis.
Definitely.
Also the presentation. We're all looking forward to when you come visit us the next time here in Graz. It's always fun when you're here. With that, I think we can more or less.
Let's invite the hacker.
Yes.
So who's the second hacker of the day? We already had Martin first, and maybe let's see who's here.
Can you hear us?
Can you hear us? We can't hear you yet. He hears you, but
I can hear you, Moritz.
Okay. Apparently he hears us, but we don't hear him.
We don't hear him, but we hear you. Yeah. I will check what the sound setup does.
Okay. So again, the sound problems continue, the theme of the day so far. As usual, I think you're very familiar with that. If you do like a live demonstration, you always have the problem that it works perfectly before you go on stage, and the second you try it live, it doesn't work anymore. But the second you actually leave the stage, it works again without doing anything. So it seems like we have the same problem here right now. It worked perfectly when we tried it before, so I'm not sure what stopped working. Not sure if we still have the problem, if you can hear us or not.
I can hear you, Moritz.
You can hear her? I still don't have anything. Let's see some mouse movement. So in the meantime, as I still have you here, what's your plan now for the future? Will you stay in Leuven or go for an assistant professorship or as a postdoc somewhere else?
At the moment, I want to stay a bit in Leuven indeed.
Okay.
And the plan is to do a bit easier. So no commitments, but I definitely want to continue doing research for a long time.
Okay, so Dani was not yet able to convince you to move to Graz.
Yeah, I'm not overrunning things,
so
I like.
Apparently something is wrong, but we can proceed. So the hack is without sound.
that's a hack in itself.
Maybe, I don't know. The problem is that Daniel is actually the one who knows what the individual hacks are about. So I'm a little bit lost what the idea right now is. But yeah, so it would be great if Daniel were here. Little bit difficult to do, to proceed. Daniel, can you give me a little bit of information? What's the idea behind the hack is? Okay, Daniel says he knows nothing as well, just as close as I am. This makes it a little bit difficult to ask you whether you would bet that it succeeds or not if you don't have any information. Do you want to take a blind guess at the whether it works or not?
Blind guess?
Yes.
Based on Moritz's profile, I think Moritz will get it to work.
You think he will get it? Okay, so what would you put on the line if more or less your bet fails?
I have a very compelling offer. So if I really believe Moritz can pull it off. If Moritz cannot pull it off, I will do the Q&A for our upcoming RC3 talk, so the Graz Communication Congress, with a helium squeaky voice, high-pitched.
That sounds nice. I personally would look forward to that, to hear that. So I think it would be nice.
On you, Moritz, to make it work.
Yeah, we'll see. Ah, now I hear something. Moritz, can you
hear me?
Now I hear you. Perfect.
All right.
So maybe you can give us a very quick description of what your hack is, so maybe you can reconsider it.
Sure, I can give you that. Here. So, my hack is moving kernel rootkit. So I will build a rootkit which will move in the process space of the kernel. I will show you how to build this actually.
Okay, you claim you can do this in 5 minutes and it cannot be found.
I can show you how to build this. I will. So the bet is that I will in parallel I will start a dumper which will dump the memory space of our lovely kernel, and I bet that I can't find my rootkit in 5 minutes.
Perfect. So do you want to reconsider your bet, or?
I think it's challenging, but I think Moritz can pull it off.
Okay, then
I trust in him.
Perfect. Then I think we're ready for the time, and Moritz, the show is yours. The floor is yours.
I'm a robot. I'm sorry.
Robert, sorry.
Right, let me just mute my this one here. Right. Now we can do. Okay, right. I want to show you how to build a moving kernel rootkit. And as already mentioned, I want to show you how it's done. And the first question is probably you guys asking is why?
Yeah.
So why build a rootkit? Because it has the highest privileges, and so the kernel has the highest privileges in the operating system. And why memory moving? Because we want to avoid detection, mainly from physical dumpers like Lime. And of course, the usual case, you want to run your rootkit because it's pretty cool to do. And let's go on. I have prepared something for this case. So I have right now a virtual machine down below, and I will install, let's say, a kinda shitty rootkit, to be honest, which was built in like 5 minutes or so. So what this thing does is it deletes itself from the so-called sysmodule struct list, which is a list of all kernel modules. So if you do an ls-mod, for instance, you won't see it, but it's still there. So next step, we want to install the real rootkit, which is memory, because it's a fun thing to do. And we did this. As you can see, I just took this is called execue, and it does some fun things and gives you root, which is pretty awesome to have always. And we want to delete this rootkit. So you're probably asking why I can now safely delete this and still have output. The rootkit is still there. So next step. Now I need to cheat because I need to comment. So we will install right now Lime. So the main.kao file is Lime, which is a physical dumper, as already mentioned. This will dump the whole physical memory range of our target. And the dumper is gone. And now we can come to the fun part, the recipe for such a rootkit. The first thing we need, of course, is an elf parser, because we need to somehow know how we can relocate ourselves. So this will become very important in the next steps, because at some point we will move a memory, and this is an issue. So the next step is we want to build this as a Linux kernel module, as already mentioned, and we need some way to execute code inside the kernel, which is normally not that common to do. There are a few ways. There are timers, but I've decided we do it with the kernel threads, because this is a way easier process. You basically execute inside the kernel space code. This is mostly done for cleanup operations and such things. So the next thing is, I want to give you the details what we are doing. At first, of course, we need a high-level detail overview what we are actually want to achieve. So I've divided this this relocation thing, this memory movement, into 3 steps. In the first step, so in the first step, we copy ourselves to the new memory location, and also apply our relocations. So this evil guy here already has copies himself to the new memory location and applies the relocations, because he needs to fix the offsets. Otherwise, you're now in totally different virtual addresses, right? So you need to somehow fix your offsets and your pointers, and so on and so on. And this is what we are doing in this case in the first step.
So just for your information, you have about 30 seconds.
Is we will transfer the control to our rootkit, which is a pretty easy thing to do. We start a kernel thread and do an indirect jump to our new init function. And we are here. And the last but not least step is, of course, we need to clean up our mess, which is basically just what we are doing is we do a memset 0. So we zeroed our old space, and then we do a free afterwards. This is basically what we are doing. And tada, you have right now, you can now repeat those steps ad nauseam. So
if we run this, so for
part is actually how can we get this information? So I said something about elf headers, which give us this necessary information. Unfortunately, you don't have this information at the start. So what we are doing is we have a preparation phase where we build ourselves a loader. What we are doing in this case is
can we go through that a bit quicker?
The rootkit into memory, and afterwards he gets the information.
Okay, are we still? Is our audio still? Can you still hear us?
Yes.
Yeah. Can we just skip through that a bit quicker, because we are already a bit late with time?
Yeah, sure. So I will speed this up. Okay, next step is we will create the metadata, copy metadata, and of course we need to apply the relocations, and then this thing is finished, and we can unload the rootkit loader. Next step is we make a summification of the memory, which is a technique by FG, which was shown in the FRAC69, which is basically we create a memory leak inside the kernel, because, as already mentioned, we map our rootkit, and afterwards we unload our loader. So in this case, as the kernel doesn't have any garbage collection in the normal way, the rootkit still resides in memory. So this is the basic idea.
In the memory leak.
Now we can go onto our bed.
Okay. So we would have to restart the timer here. We already started it too early.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, let's start the timer here. Okay, and I was not there when you took up the bet.
He will succeed in doing it.
And if
he will do the bet, the Q&A with a helium voice.
Okay.
That's the bet.
Okay, I think we're ready to start.
Let's go.
Let's start the timer.
Okay, great. So, first step. I want to show you what happens if we do this with... so I prepared something because the memory dump is not yet finished, unfortunately. So to see that the setup is the same. What we are doing is at first, of course, the volatility, which is the most used forensic framework in any way. And we are looking for hidden modules, right? And what we are doing is we do this. And as I didn't want to cheat, this takes a second or two. And also I already created the profiles and so on, which would have to be done beforehand, which is kind of a pain in the ass to do, to be honest. So this can take. And he's carving memory, and ta-da! We see our baby rootkit, which doesn't have this technique. So this was not a bad, right? So next step, how can we next check if we can find the rootkit? So I can skip this here. Next step would actually be normally to do a bin walk. And let's see what we get here. And as you can see, takes a second or two. So what happens right now is binwalk is a so-called file carving tool, which will right now carve through the memory and will try to see certain magic bytes, for instance, ELF or something, and say, okay, there's a file. And then he does some sanity checking, to my knowledge. So as you can see, it also takes ages. Yeah. So, and you have copious amounts of data you can find in here. So this is also not really working. So the best way, probably we can try strings, right? This is what I would do in this case. And let's see if you have, I think the rootkit had some, yes. So this is, for instance, from the char buffer, so we don't care about this, to be honest, in this case. But as you can see, our strings are most likely there. So, but of course, in a real rootkit scenario, you would encrypt this stuff, because this is actually possible with this approach. Okay. Now we know there is this. So what I did right now, to not cheat, because normally what you would do in this case is,
So what is it?
So I prepared a little script I can show you, which just grabs for Christmas basically and dumps you the offset in the file. Sorry. So because you could do this with XXD, which also gives you the hex dumps, but this is not really working, to be honest. So next step, of course, we take Rodaya, because so at least this has worked kind of good for me in this case, because I need to find it for my project. What you can do, for instance, is this, and seek to this address. And yeah, we failed. This is not this is actually the rootkit.ko. So this is the baby rootkit.
Oh.
Which is not
But so it found your rootkit then?
Partially, it found fragments. So the thing is, during real testing, we always had fragments.
Oh, okay.
So, for instance, do we have it here? No. So the thing is, you can right now go through all these files and you will have copious amounts of fun finding this file. So this is the only way I could think of to find this till now, because you don't know anything. So I simulated a black box approach in this case with a rootkit, which unfortunately doesn't do any, let's say, encryption techniques, which are possible, to be honest. Should be possible.
Yeah.
So next step, we try something else. And so normally in this case, what you would do is look through all this mess, and you will find it somewhere and look for the data segment, and then you're done. So, what does this timer say? I don't see it right now.
It's already time over. We are already timed out.
Sorry.
Yeah. Okay. That's unfortunate. That's really unfortunate. But we will I guess see a very good Q&A at CCC. Looking forward to that.
I think we're all looking forward to that.
Yeah. And I just realized that the audience is a bit low on volume, right? It could be louder, the audience. Yeah. So maybe let's continue here. So what does a hack like this mean? Can we hide malware indefinitely with that?
Yes. So this is...
And this is probably also a topic that Jo also finds interesting, like the hiding of malware with different mechanisms.
The idea of this rootkit is mainly based, as I said, the stuff FG did. And also there was a trend, I think in 2018 it was at the H2HC conference, where those guys who also built the Reptile rootkit presented the Matryoshka rootkit, which is a stack kernel loader. So now you have the possibility to go crazy. You can build your own custom loading formats. You can encrypt your rootkit in special ways. For instance, easy XOR encryption does work. You could try, for instance, also to hook the kernel allocator and do your nefarious things.
Yeah.
So you basically have right now the possibility to write malware which does inject itself in memory and can do anything there without being seen.
So Jo, what do you think? Will we see more of these things in the future, or are we going to?
I think what Moritz shows is a beautiful example of this attacker-defender race, right? And I think we definitely, as InfoSec proceeds, we'll see more and more of these complex exploits. So, and I think the main message is that none of them are definitely winning. The attackers are getting better and more creative. Defenders are also getting more exact. So I think this will only continue, and it's part of this exciting research field, right? An exciting field to work in.
Okay, great. Well, I would say let's thank both the hacker and Jo for being on stream. And we will, at the end, of course, have a vote where you can still win for having the hack of the day.
Yes.
See you guys at RC3.
See you there.
We are looking forward to it.
See you there.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
So, as you've already talked a lot about Zoom, I thought we should continue with Zoom a bit.
Like I said, they had not a great year in terms of security.
Yeah. So the next part about Zoom is they get passwords in April. We get new passwords. I mean, what year is it?
I mean, it's a company that was founded in 2011. So in my opinion, it's a feature that should have been available in 2011 already.
Yeah.
Passwords are more or less
true.
Always a good idea, but better late than never. That's also
very true. We still hear someone from the streaming room, just for your information. Yeah, another feature that they enabled was the virtual waiting room, so that people wouldn't jump into the call
to prevent the Zoom bombing.
Yes. So maybe let's keep that in mind. Passwords, maybe we get back to that later on. But also more on Zoom. I mean, there was this zero-click access to webcam and microphone from without privileges. You could inject malicious code into the address space, and that was normally prevented by macOS. But in this case, they completely bypassed this.
I don't know what they did, because if it's normally prevented by macOS, it seems like something that is more or less their fault how they did it. And I don't want anyone to have unprivileged access to my microphone.
They had this nice script run with root, and you could run something as root then.
Yes, so you more or less got root access, root privileges on the full system. And the nice thing is, if you had like another piece of malware on that computer, you could just run the script. It gives you root for free.
Maybe that was also why Google blocked it on their company laptops.
Yes, but interestingly, they just blocked it on the company laptops. They said if you use another phone or whatever, you can still use it. It's just don't use it on our machines. And I mean, it's not good for a company.
But it continues with Zoom. I mean, there's something that I've read recently about Zoom bashing and how unfair that is. But this is just reporting the facts. We will also have headlines about the others, but that's just the distribution of headlines for the different tools.
Yeah, and we also had in April this instance where 500,000 Zoom accounts were sold online.
Yes.
I mean, to be fair, one thing that we need to say is that this was probably not a hack, but more or less credential stuffing. So they just used information from previous leaks that are freely available and tried it with Zoom emails to see if someone has an account there. So it's not entirely their fault if someone else gets breached, but still not too good.
Also on the darknet or darknet forums, people were selling exploits for macOS, Windows. Windows exploit for $500K. Why not?
I mean, what I've heard at the beginning of this year's SASA lecture, it was more or less, if you don't care about morals, it's a nice way to make money. I can't remember something.
But I hope that everyone has ethics and has moral view, like a baseline that you
we
don't
all
go
hope
below.
that, I guess. But yeah, as you said, 500,000. But there's also this other story about Zoom, because at one point security researchers were like, okay, let's take a little bit of a closer look at the application itself. And there was this German researcher, he goes by the name THS. He looked at the static Windows binary for it, or he performed some static analysis of the Windows binary.
It says they're OpenSSL from March 2018. And end of life was in December 2019.
2018 and so on. That's still very recent. But the other thing is that the Zoom binary is still a 32-bit binary. And I don't know, 64-bit is more or less how I prefer my applications, because it's been now, 11 years? More.
Think of compatibility.
That's true, but I don't know. There were also other vulnerabilities there. They used a 6-year-old libcurl version.
6 years.
And another part of the application, in some of the DLLs, they had like a 3-year-old libcurl version, 2-year-old OpenSSL, 1-year-old libgbag. All of them are vulnerable and known to be vulnerable to specific attacks. So
that's quite problematic. Also, more stuff: SQL injection, buffer overflows, registry dumps. Screen capture function that you can reach as an unprivileged attacker, hard-coded passphrases. This one may be for the cryptographers. So they used AES in CBC mode and used a constant IV there, which
that simply sounds bored. But I think the most interesting thing is that's where 15 vulnerabilities now in the researcher found, and he said, I'm now just bored. I don't want to look at it anymore. I spent 5 hours on it.
Yeah.
But that's more or less what he found in 5 hours.
But do you remember the claim from 2016 where Zoom said they had E2EE, end-to-end encryption? Well, they announced there will be end-to-end encryption at some point.
You mean true
Still no end-to-end
encryption, not their own version of end-to-end?
Depends. But here they added support for GCM mode for AES. Well, that's at least...
Wait. They used... If they now add support for GCM, what did they use before?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's not... Please tell me it's not ECB.
Oh no, it's
no.
ECB. Oh no. Here you can see user on Zoom's AES ECB, and user on any other encrypted video conferencing system.
I mean, strictly speaking, it's not the full information that you have available, right? So maybe it's secure for them, secure enough.
This is what I imagine the crypto consultant at Zoom must have looked like, right? Yeah, no, one does not simply use ECB mode. No, actually, that's wrong, right?
That's wrong.
Yeah, let's fix it. One simply does not use ECB mode.
Looks a lot better. And we already had this story that they had this council meeting for the European Union for the defense.
Yeah.
Secretary of Defense. And they might have used this before with ECB mode.
Sure, I'm absolutely sure that they used this.
That's more or less horrifying. Yeah. But to be fair, they were not the only one who had bad encryption.
Oh, so, yeah.
Nowadays, I mean, we are probably too old for this hype.
Yes.
But the younger people, they love TikTok.
Yes. This was really funny because they had TLS encryption for small user data, even for passwords, for all the small data sets. But for videos and images, large images, no.
I mean, do you really need it? What do you gain from that? I mean, someone can do like a man-in-the-middle attack.
Yeah.
And you can, it's very easy apparently to swap the videos that are shown to people.
There was some speculation in media whether this was intentional, actually.
Yeah, I mean, there was quite a bit of discussion this year about TikTok with China being involved there. But I think would it be fair to insinuate that there's some malicious intent behind there?
Maybe it was just lazy. Maybe to save resources. Maybe they didn't know better. We don't know.
Yeah.
It's all speculation.
Yeah, I think we shouldn't speculate too much.
Yes. May. That's May 2020. We are still in the first half of the year. Good idea from TikTok. Of course, you can't have broken end-to-end encryption if you have no encryption at all.
That's my approach to everything. If you don't do it, it's
in May, we had this very interesting headline with Zoom again, where Zoom just bought Keybase. Keybase is an end-to-end encrypted messenger with real end-to-end encryption, not what Zoom claimed, right? And the question that we thought of then was, if Keybase has end-to-end encryption and we buy Keybase, don't we have end-to-end encryption then?
Theoretically,
in some sense,
but it's still not implemented, right?
Yeah,
I think that's still something you need to take care of. And
of course,
the interesting thing is when they announced that okay, now we're doing end-to-end encryption, true end-to-end encryption, but only for our paying customers.
Oh yeah, so then you can't connect anymore.
Yeah,
if you're not using your Office device.
You need to pay for it. But one thing that they also said is, you have this nice feature with Zoom where you can call in using like a landline or whatever to be part of the meeting. That doesn't work with encryption. So
yeah, that's right.
If you want to do something like that, no encryption for you.
Yeah, of course. Let's talk about more vulnerabilities. It's not just Zoom. There's also other vulnerabilities. And in May, there was also this announcement from Zerodium that iOS vulnerabilities are not that interesting anymore. They were saying that we will basically lower the prices that we pay for these vulnerabilities and stop buying them for some time even.
It's the first time I think that I've seen like an oversaturation of the market for vulnerabilities. Normally they want to buy pretty much everything. But apparently the price for some vulnerabilities went down from 2.5 million to 2 million. And I mean, it's still 2 million. I wouldn't be too mad to get that kind of money, but still it's 500,000 less. But yeah, maybe now we've bashed a little bit of Apple as well.
Let's go back to Austria. I mean, in Austria, do we do everything correct here in terms of security?
Obviously.
There was this case with A1, the top telecom provider in Austria, and hackers had access to domain administrator access to their networks for 6 months.
Yeah, but I mean, what do you want to do in 6 months? I'm pretty sure they said something like, yeah, we now locked them out and there was no user data was stolen or whatever. I mean, 6 months, that's simply no time for anyone to steal anything, to be honest, right?
Yeah, of course, no risk for any customer.
But it does sound like if they're in there for like 6 months, it does sound a little bit like advanced persistent threat. And this is more or less the picture that I always think about when it comes to advanced persistent threats. It has everything, it has a dog.
Let's welcome our third guest for today, and this is Stefan Mangard from our own institute, IAIK at TU Graz. Let's see whether he's already there. Yes, we can see you. Hello.
Hi.
Perfect. We can also hear you. Perfect. Security in Austria. What's your view on security in Austria? Are we worse at this than other countries? I mean, 6 months domain administrator.
Yes, we are. Well, it's a hard question if you put this up front, right? In terms of having a bad example.
Yeah.
I think we are where most countries are, and in terms of research, we're trying to push everybody forward. I mean, all the examples that you're showing essentially show us how much work we have ahead and how much more research we need in order to build more secure systems. So this will keep us busy for a long time.
That's true, but of course we will not have headlines where it says A1 did everything right for the last 6 months. This wouldn't be a headline. A headline is only there if you have a fail, right? Something goes off the planned path.
That's the life of security, right?
Yeah.
You're never mentioned for the good things you do, only if something goes terribly wrong.
Yeah.
You are in the news.
So you are also, as head of institute of the IAIK, but also in some other roles, also making some effort to advance the state of cybersecurity in Austria, right?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we are, and this is the nice thing that we have. Actually, in Austria, the largest academic security group is in Graz. So we are the largest security institute in Austria, and we're continuously expanding. So we founded the cybersecurity campus, and we now founded also a new research center, which is Lamar Security Research. And actually, this will start in 21, so in January. Where I'm also as a scientific director there, and actually all the people of IAIK, the researchers, are involved there, and we will see in the end more research, and hopefully we will have even more topics, also interesting topics for students there in the research center and at IAIK.
This is quite a big research center, right? Can you give us some imagination of how big this vision is?
Well, what we plan to do actually is, in the context of the cybersecurity campus, is that we will, so we want to establish a new building. So all the people that are in the channel who are in Graz know that in InfoSec that we are currently building new buildings. So these are not the ones that will be related to security. So we plan another one in the pipeline, which will be hopefully ready by 2024, which and there we want to have a large building where we then have more than 100 researchers in there, or something in the range of 100 to 150. And we also want to have industry partners in there with several hundred people from industry, also SMEs in there, to really create a hub where we bring together academia and industry in one place.
Yeah.
So till we have the new building, so some of you might have where a company is looking at security lab.
We have some problems with the stream right now, I think.
It's breaking up a little.
The stream is breaking up. We can't hear Stefan anymore. Maybe let's use this to welcome the third hack of the day. I think we can hear him again. I think the connection was just a bit unstable right now.
I hope you can hear me again.
Yeah, we can hear you again.
We can hear you again.
So let's welcome our third.
I mean, talking about.
Yeah. Continue, please.
Hi.
Stefan, you were still talking.
Yeah, I just wanted to say it's an interesting sound experience that you're sharing here in this room.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, the sound setup broke like 20 minutes before we started the stream. We had everything prepared, and then someone stumbled over a cable, and then we had to redo part of the setup in 20 minutes, and it was complicated. Anyway, let's welcome Marcel, Marcel Nagler, who is studying at TU Graz, and he will also demonstrate a hack today for us. Yeah, Marcel, can you tell us what your hack is about?
Yeah, so this is an Ubuntu VM. You're not seeing it right now on the screen.
We will see it in a second.
Yeah, so I have an Ubuntu VM running Ubuntu 20.04.
Yeah.
And it has a non-root user, like a normal user, and this user wants to get root privileges, and he does that by combining a denial of service attack on a system service, and then using that with a weird programming quirk in the display manager to create a new root account.
So if I would try that on a reasonably recent Ubuntu, I could actually get root privileges with that?
Yeah, so I used current download image 20.04.1, and if you do not apply any updates, it still works. But after you apply the current updates, it is patched.
Okay, this is worrying.
What do you think you will need for this until you are a root user?
I think I will need like 5 minutes.
5 minutes, okay. Stefan, do you pick up the bet? Will he succeed or not?
Of course.
Of course he will succeed, okay. And if he doesn't, what do you do?
If I lose, I will go into the basement. So I remember there is some Santa costume somewhere hidden in the basement. If I don't find it, I will have to ask you to maybe lend me your jacket. But in the end, so I will either use my Santa costume or at least whatever I find in the basement, or some other nice outfit, and provide some greetings for Christmas on Twitter.
Okay, that sounds cool.
Okay.
Then I would say, let's start the timer, and good luck to Marcel.
All right. So here you can see the top user. If I type ID, you can see that it doesn't have any root privileges. And now we want to change that. And we have this nice file. It's called the PAM environment. It's an environment file for the authentication stuff in Linux. And the thing we do here is that we symlink def0. So this is an endless file with lots of zeros, or endless zeros, to the .pam environment. And now if anyone tries to read all of the PAM environment, it will never really finish. And one such service that reads the PAM environment is the account daemon. And this account daemon is responsible for setting stuff like changing the user's password or changing the user's language and all that kind of stuff. And now after we symlink this endless file, we try to change the language in the settings, maybe to English UK. And as you can see, the UI freezes. And if you take a look at top, you can see here the accounts daemon is running at 90% CPU or something. And what this account daemon also does is that it drops privileges to my current user, so we can now kill it. I do kill -top to stop my CPU from burning, and then I run a bash in the background. This no hub is just so it won't get killed later, and I sleep like 30 seconds or something, and then I can kill the daemon with a segmentation fault, and also kill it with cont, so it can be scheduled again and actually handle the segmentation fault. And so now this is running, the bash is sleeping 30 seconds, and what we do now is that we log out and wait for a bit. So now the GNOME display manager, so this is the login screen, tries to talk to the account daemon and ask it if there are any users on the current system. Because if there are no users on the system, it thinks that this is like a new system and starts the initial setup. And if everything goes correctly, I hope. We should see the initial setup pop up within a few seconds. Oh, something's happening. See screen, welcome. Oh, this is like my new machine now. I can select my keyboard layout. Yeah, I don't need location services. I can select some time zone. And my full name is Hackerman. And also my password is Hackerman. If I'm able to type. I guess it's not the most secure password. I also shouldn't have told you that. Maybe. And after my VM loads up. Come on.
Oh, the time is running.
Oh, and now we have a shell, and you can already see, hey, use sudo to run stuff as administrator.
Okay.
We have a root shell.
Yeah.
Nice.
Sounds good. Sounds good.
And
very
time
good
to spare.
Yeah. Congrats. This was a successful hack, so Stefan doesn't have to post a photo, but of course he can still do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this.
Actually, I became curious when thinking about it. I need to go to my basement and see if it's still there.
I think everyone would like to see that picture.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, with hacks like this, what is the situation here in terms of security? Are we getting systems that are less and less secure? Because this was a really simple looking hack. Or Marcel made it look simple. So what will the future be like? Will we have more secure systems?
So I was confused now by the audio. You're talking to me, right?
Yeah, to one of you, yeah.
Or Marcel. So I
yeah.
don't know. Yeah. So Marcel is very good. So he had more than a minute buffer, right? Or you finished 30 spare time. So that's perfect.
Yeah. So it only took like 3 minutes.
Yeah. Also have more.
Didn't hear it?
Yeah. So I guess we will see a lot of this stuff still to come, right? So we will not solve the whole security challenge within a short time frame. But what we all hope for and then what we work for in security research is to increase the bar, right? So that at some time you should not be able to do competitions like this anymore. Where you can get do such a severe hacking in what was it, 3 minutes 30 or something like that.
Yeah, that was quite impressive.
We really put up the bar.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's easy to export. Finding that is really difficult, and the researcher that found it also kind of found it by accident. So at first he didn't know how he did it, and then he had to do more research to actually find out what happened.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Yeah, I would say we would thank you at this point for being on stream and wish you a nice evening. And we will continue.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas as
well. In case we don't see each other again.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you for being here.
Thank you. And we will just continue with our...
Merry Christmas.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye. And we will continue with our review of the year. So, well, the next step is looking at July 2020. July 2020, well, Zoom finally gets end-to-end encryption beta.
Yeah.
Wow.
Now they also changed a little bit of the story. Now it's available for everyone, not just the one that paid for it. So that's very nice. But now you need to provide them with your phone number for verification. So that's more.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, that's great. End-to-end encryption on a heavily used communication platform. That's great. So I'm just seeing from the director that we probably will swap 2 of the guests. That makes a lot of sense. And we will just briefly go through a few more slides before we have the next guest, I would say. the thing is, end-to-end encryption, other messengers had this already for years. WhatsApp had end-to-end encryption. Signal as a very good example.
Yes, very, very common actually.
Yeah, WhatsApp also uses the Signal protocol, right?
Yeah.
Also in July, Twitter was hacked, and this was really interesting because the hackers actually almost got a Pony Award for most epic fail.
Yeah. It was most epic fail. The hackers actually got access to the admin tools of Twitter and were able to reset confirmation email address and gain access to very popular Twitter accounts.
130 high profile accounts.
Yeah, and very, very like we had I think people like Bill Gates,
Jeff Bezos.
Yeah, Barack Obama, Joe Biden, Warren Buffett, and Jeff Bezos is actually, I think, one of the most interesting because
you can double the bitcoins by sending him bitcoins.
I mean, he has enough money, so it would make sense. But people got confused very, very quickly when they saw this tweet. Simply because the first statement didn't make that much sense. I've decided to give back to my community is, I think, not something that we hear that much from him.
Who knows? But it's certainly a big problem there.
So
after talking about something else, maybe we should get back to Zoom.
Unfortunately.
Zoom introduced these passwords, right? And they also introduced the end-to-end encryption beta.
Yeah, so it was a little bit of progress, right? They now arrived in the year 2020 from 2011.
But the problem was the default passwords and the passwords that you could enter were very short, like 6 digits.
6 digits numerical password is enough, right? Unbreakable.
But the problem was also that they allowed unlimited HTTP requests to enter a meeting.
Yeah, I mean,
so you would just brute force them.
HTTP requests, I can do pretty much everything.
Oh, not if you have a password that is long enough.
Yeah, if it's, I mean, how long are we talking about? Not 6 digits.
Yeah, but maybe 12 digits, 12 characters, alphanumeric characters. Then,
that's a lot better.
Yeah.
And it also seems a little bit connected to the credential stuffing that we've seen before.
Because credential stuffing is also a problem of the platform that is attacked because they allowed the credential stuffing to take place.
Yes.
Anyway, they fixed this by limiting the requests. August, there was this big Intel leak, but actually the leak was just data that was provided to contractors, no data on customers or employees.
It would have been nice to ask Anders about this, just to see him squirm because he's not allowed to talk about it.
I'm not, but the leak was not very interesting to me.
I don't know, I've never looked at it actually.
So at this point, we would already welcome our fourth guest of the day, and we will instead have the music as the next guest. I guess. No, do we have the music now? I'm not sure what the director has to tell us what we should do. I was expecting that a different guest would show up.
Okay, then
let's
first talk to Manuel. So
we talk to Manuel first. Okay, welcome Manuel. So August is usually the time where Black Hat USA takes place, and that's traditionally the place for the Pony Awards ceremony, and these are basically the Oscars of InfoSec. And Manuel is actually a 2-time winner of Pony Awards for Best Song.
And I think some of our viewers might have seen him already quite a few times.
Yeah.
He's usually the singer for our music videos that we produce. So, to be fair, you're also a 2-time Pony Award winner.
Well, more than that.
More than that?
Sure.
Yeah. Not sure.
And Manuel, can you tell us something about you? You studied at TU Graz also?
Yes, I did study TU Graz. I think we started together back.
Okay, yeah.
It's been a while. I think 2008, and well, since then,
you moved.
I've switched into the industry
and into music
now
business.
I'm working as a senior software developer.
But also into music business.
Well,
yeah.
So we did that.
Okay. So you brought a new song for us here. Is that right? That you just finished recording before the show because for technical reasons it was not possible to have that live in the show. But you just...
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, then let's give this a go. Okay. Yeah, very, very nice.
Okay, it's a song that perfectly encapsulates this year for most of us, right?
Yeah, yeah,
it's
yeah.
A great song.
Thank you. So, as a band, COVID probably made also everything a bit more difficult, right? There were lockdowns where you can't play together, but does it work via like on the internet?
So apart from songwriting, maybe where you have only two people who are communicating with each other, and you don't really have lag problems, it doesn't really work together very well. Because the only thing you can do is everybody plays their part separately, and then you mix it all together in the end. So you don't really have this live feeling that you want to have. So yeah, during November, for example, we pretty much did nothing apart from what I just described, which is also why we couldn't do a live stream right now.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Pony Awards for Best Song. Why are marketing elements like songs, music, etc. important for cybersecurity? Why does this contribute to security, or how?
So, in general, IT security is a very complex matter, and very often it is not easy to understand for others who are not involved in the field. And pop media makes it easier to grasp and also more fun to get into the topic itself. So you attract more talent who doesn't even know maybe that it is a talent that will join the industry maybe.
Yeah. What is your view on the future with respect to marketing? There was this Asia Crypt talk that maybe some of you have seen, which was also made up like a movie a bit. Will we see more of these things in the future?
So I sure hope so, because it is hell entertaining, and I think it gets more people to join us.
That's very cool. So also what I would say is that this is still about sharing knowledge mainly, because I
mean, it's sharing. It's a little bit different than what we do as scientists by sharing in like a paper form. It puts it in a perspective that is very easy to understand for non-experts. So
okay, we get to the next hack of the day. We should have a new hacker in the stream now, and maybe the director can tell us. Okay, hi. So can you
hear us, Thomas?
Yeah, of course. It's just a bit delayed.
Okay, perfect. Okay, yeah. Sorry. So we tested this before, and there it worked well. I'm not sure where all the delays now come from.
Yeah, whatever. But it will work.
Okay, perfect. So
can you briefly describe what's your plan for the hack?
So I want to execute a command as root on an industrial device.
Okay.
Which was patched, I think, mid of the year, and it's from Phoenix Contact.
Can you show that to us, this device? You have something to show there?
Of course. Can you see my screen?
Oh yeah, we can see your screen, yeah.
So that's remote accessible device which can be used for whatever. Just log in via VPN connection and doing some opening some wireless access points, accessing from the network. But it's just an industrial device which has the firmware.
And you claim you can run commands on this, and how much time would you need for that?
I would need 5 minutes to execute commands as root just via the web interface.
Manuel, do you think this is possible? 5 minutes?
Well, I don't really know this guy, so I don't think he has it in him to do that.
Okay.
You're throwing a little bit of shade here.
Okay.
No. It's all in good.
Of course.
Of course. So what do you put up as a wager? What will you do? if he succeeds.
In continuing the effort to make IT security a nice, marketable, and fun environment to get into, we would offer as a band, so a few mistakes ago, to play a cover of your choosing, and also if you want to write the lyrics with the lyrics, if we lose.
Okay.
That sounds very, very interesting.
Yeah, we can do that. And maybe this is also additional motivation for Thomas to succeed, actually.
Of course, of course.
Okay. Then I would say let's start this, and I hope that Thomas succeeds now.
Me as well.
So I will just take some beer to get started. And now I start my interceptor proxy, burp, you may know it, and I just browse over the system and can quickly find that there is a configuration tab. So the thing is, it's emulated, so it takes a while to up and download stuff, but you can, for example, download So I don't really want to save the configuration because it takes a while, as I told you. And you can also upload it. And the thing is, uploading and downloading stuff is really hard because there you can get commands executed if you do it in the wrong way. And actually, they did it in the wrong way because they just used the user input without any modifications, whatever. They just used it to run shell commands. And I was curious about because yeah, that it looked so easy that I just used my interceptor proxy, just running, for example, this one, list screen. I mean, that's well known. So you can, for example, execute it. It will take a while because it's emulated, but the actual device is also not really better. And you can see, for example, there is a screen listing. I mean, you can just see the content of the directory where the web server is running. And when you want to create a reverse shell, for example, to get root access, because who is executing the web server as a web server user? No, nobody. Everybody is using just the root user, of course. You have to create a reverse shell. The thing is, you cannot insert spaces. You have to use IFS. And I have prepared one simple example. Oh, the performance is really bad here. For example, to use a simple telnet reverse shell. Oh, it's really slow, really slow. And there's the base64 encoded string, which I used to start the next request in my repeater. And I have also prepared one open reverse shell listener, of course. And if I click on send, I hope to get a reverse shell, maybe, if it's not too slow. Let's see. Oh. And now I'm root and I can access everything. Yeah, done.
So, perfect. And again,
Very
with time
nice.
to spare. So I guess we're all looking forward to Manuel and his band a few mistakes ago to the new song.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. And we are already done with the fourth hack.
Fourth hack, I think.
Fourth hack.
Yes.
I lost track of the numbers now. Yeah, the fourth hack of the day, of course. Yeah. I mean, this was a vulnerability. Things like this shouldn't exist in 2020 anymore, right?
It shouldn't exist, but
yeah.
there are many out there.
Yes.
So really, My
Isn't that
favorite
101
is the
that you
ping
don't do this?
test, and the second
Yes.
is trace route.
Yeah, but we find this in practice. Yeah.
Sorry.
So you also work in this area, right? And sort of this hardware,
I'm
like
currently in the
security.
office.
Okay.
So where exactly do you work, and what's your task there, if you can talk about it?
Of course, I can talk about. I work at, you may know it, a well-known company in Austria and in APAC, and maybe also a bit in US, but now acquired by another company, and I'm looking forward to get more interesting projects, but yeah, the security level is sometimes not really high.
But this is probably the problem of the real world, that we just are not ready yet for better security.
Unfortunately.
Unfortunately, yeah. Okay, I would like to thank both of you for being here.
And also Manuel for his awesome performance with his band.
Yes, thank you.
For instance, can we find you on YouTube?
Thank you.
Spotify or whatever. You can plug your band.
Perfect. So let's...
yeah, you can find our album on Spotify and YouTube Music or Apple Music or wherever you want. It's called Mistakes Were Made. And also this song that you heard there is there in English, but we'll also release this song soon.
Perfect. Sounds cool.
We're looking forward to it.
Have a good evening, both of you.
Bye.
Our next guest is actually just here via video, and that's just to put some context here.
To get hacked, you need somebody with 197 IQ, and he needs about 15% of your password, right?
So we just saw a lot of hackers already. Probably they all have 197 IQ.
I mean, I wouldn't doubt it. So
I wouldn't doubt it. Trump Twitter got his Twitter account hacked, and the thing is, it's not fake news. He used the same password that was in the 2012 LinkedIn leak. And the password was "You're fired."
And I think he took a very interesting approach as well to security, because normally after a leak, so you change your password. He did something else. He did not change the password. He changed his email address. So I'm not quite sure about this approach, but yeah. The hack took place in 2016 before the election. It all went public
in 2020. Yeah.
There were a few concerns by the security researchers.
But Trump's credit card data and other data also appeared in other leaks. For instance, some online games like Heroes of New Earth and Evany, but also in the Ashley Madison leak. So
not
plenty of leaks that you can use to collect data here. Also, I thought maybe this is how all the people from all the stuff got fired this year. Because basically whenever someone asked about his Twitter account and whether he could help administrating it, he was basically answering, "You're fired."
To be honest, I wouldn't doubt it if this was actually the case.
I mean, then he can't turn back.
Yes.
Okay.
Let's get to our next.
This is actually not 2020. This was 2018. This was the Bloomberg story about the Supermicro mainboards, backdoor chip on those. But this was a hoax. But in 2020, we actually find backdoored hardware implementations in high silicon chips.
Yes, so more or less the software running on those high silicon chips did include a few backdoors apparently. So they allow for a remote attack.
Wow.
Remote attacks are never good.
Yeah.
So actually they had a little bit of information leakage in there. They allow for denial of service, arbitrary code execution. And the person who actually discovered it, he's like, okay, yes, some of these are more or less just missing coding skills.
Yeah.
But others are simply, or at least not simply, he wasn't sure if they are not intentional backdoors. And to be fair, Huawei denies that. They say, no, these are not backdoors.
Yeah. That they didn't plant them there. They said they didn't plant them there. And also, I think HiSilicon said they don't know where it's coming from.
Yeah. I mean, it makes sense for them to say that they.
Yeah, but on the other side, I guess there are also a lot of institutions that might be interested in backdooring exactly those chips.
Yes. And I guess supply chain attacks will become a lot more prominent.
Yes, supply chain attacks will be more relevant. Also, 2020, you can see here a happy worker at a nuclear reactor before lockdown, and you can see the screens of the nuclear reactor in the background. And here, this was before lockdown, and after lockdown or during lockdown, you can see the same happy worker working from home.
Yeah, well, how would he work from home? I mean, does he use like something RDP to get access?
He uses RDP, and here we see the attacks on RDP that they increase from a few 100,000 to something like 3 million attacks per day.
It's a very interesting thing here, because these numbers are from a study in Germany, and they showed that only 29% of the companies use two-factor authentication, authorization, and an encrypted VPN was only used by 44% of the companies. So I would say they were not really ready for home office, for a secure home office.
This is not a good situation. Yeah.
But to move away from companies, let's go to a little bit the pleasure business with the security in IoT. We all know that security is not that great with the security topic. We have here this cell-made chastity device that is apparently quite frequently used. Okay. So what happens if we use security with sex toys? And it turns out it's not looking very good, because they did a bad job. So every single person was able to access the username, password, email, phone number, GPS. Nothing of that was encrypted, and it was directly accessible using the API for everyone. And I mean, it's a chastity device, so an attacker was able to change the password and the device won't open anymore. So you more or less need the fire department. And it was actually not the first time that people looked into sex toys.
That sounds like a horrible idea.
Yes. And this question here, if your Wi-Fi vibrator gets hacked, is it a sex crime? This was actually also a question that was asked by Werner Schober. Back then he was a master student at the Chaos Communication Congress in 2018, and we both attended this talk. It was very funny, so we can recommend it. I think it's not a discussion that we want to have here, if it is a section crime or not. But
not for this day.
Then we also have this story in Germany. They started providing this e-rezept for simply to get medication to people. There we have another theme that another instance of a theme that we've seen quite a lot, and that's end-to-end encryption.
It's missing.
It's missing. Yes. I mean, they plan to start with the e-rezept in 2022. But right now the proposal does not include any end-to-end encryption in there, and it's more or less a doctor signs a prescription. It goes to this Fachdienst e-Rezept that handles it, and then the user gets a QR code.
And if they lose the data somehow,
I mean,
then it's lost.
It's simply a prescription. It tells you what illness a person has.
Wow.
There's nothing there that's harmful, right?
Also, we are still here in August. Zoom finally gets end-to-end encryption, but not on Linux.
Yeah, I mean,
and 256-bit AES GCM. The keys are not kept on China, but in China servers, but
not by Zoom themselves. Yeah. Now it's hosted. The keys are with the host.
Yeah.
And next we also got a new Wi-Fi standard. It improves performance a lot, so especially in cases where you have multiple devices in the same house. We don't want to go too much into detail how they work.
Yeah.
Simply, it makes it faster if you have multiple devices in there.
Very odd.
Yeah. So with that, we can more or less bring on our fifth guest, I think.
Yeah, fifth guest. We have swapped the last two guests now. Yes, so this is actually a topic that would fit well to Yiska, but we have John here now. Hi, John. Can you hear us?
Hello.
Nice to see you again, John.
So what time is it in your place now?
question. I don't know. It's quarantine time. No, it's 1 p.m. here.
1 p.m.
Okay, not that late.
Very nice. So, John, you are also in the InfoSec community, and you've been working for Red Hat for several years. How is it working at Red Hat?
It's great. It's a great place to work. We have a lot of fun doing all kinds of different things. Let's see. Well, you and I met each other with a Spectre and Meltdown.
Yeah.
Ever since, it's the gift that keeps on giving.
That's true. So in between, you started, or back when I got to know you were at Red Hat. Then you had this brief stint at Nuvia, I think for a year, 1.5 years. What motivated that change for you?
I've always wanted to be on the other side, building high performance microprocessors, and I had this little challenge, a year or so back, where I went to my company and said, "I love you guys, you're wonderful, but I want to build high performance microprocessors." And they said, "Well, we don't do that." I said, "I know, that's the problem." So I left and went to.
That sounds like a very interesting. That sounds like a very interesting conversation to have with your boss. I want to do that, but you're not doing that.
That's very cool.
Right. They said, so what would you change about the company? What do you think? And I said, everything's great. There's nothing wrong at all. I love you guys. I can't think of a thing wrong. Just please make CPUs.
Okay, and that's also now, I mean, you're now back with Red Hat. Same position as before or a different position?
I saw the error of my ways and I went home.
Okay.
I own a few different things. But I guess you could say I have a lot of the stuff I used to do, and I just took on more when I came back.
Okay, sounds great. So I think we can introduce our hacker.
Yeah. So I'm not sure. Okay. I figured that the director would now swap also the two hackers.
So here we have Vedat, also from our institute.
Vedat Hadzic from TU Graz, student at TU Graz. PhD student at TU Graz. Yeah. And Vedat also prepared a hack. And Vedat, maybe you can tell something about your person. So you're in which year of your PhD? We can't hear Vedat right now. I think this might be again due to the screen share missing. Do we hear him now? Yeah, we hear him now. Yes. Yeah, we can hear you now, Vedat.
Okay. The thing is that I hear an echo, but I'm gonna live with it. So about me, I'm just finishing my first year of my PhD. I'm working on secure masking computation and verifying that hardware implementations of cryptographic ciphers cannot be snooped on. And before that, I did a lot of hacking, so that's why I'm here.
Okay. So the director tells us that we should tell you to switch the image.
I think you already did it.
Okay.
It was just switching the tab.
Switch the image?
On the tab.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
So.
Okay.
Yeah. So
and you prepared
the hack.
So
yes,
yeah.
So I'm first gonna tell you a bit about the demo that I'm gonna do. So this is Hexorgram, which is like Instagram for hackers, and the main idea. The main idea of it is that you can upload images and apply filters and whatever, and it supports all file types imaginable to man. So that's everything you need to know about it.
Okay. How much? Yeah.
So my guess is that I'm gonna be able to hack it within 2 minutes, but the explanation is then gonna take a bit longer.
So we maybe give you a bit extra time for then, so that you can explain a bit during the hack.
Guess that makes sense.
Yeah. So maybe do we have something like 5 minutes? Does it make sense?
Yeah,
or you can
explain
it beforehand.
But it might make sense to explain during the hack.
Yeah.
Yeah. 5 minutes is okay. So 5 minutes, and the goal that you have is you want to execute shell commands.
Yes.
And basically starting from a website.
Well, yeah. So,
okay.
so I'm gonna try to get remote code execution.
Okay.
And then maybe leak some secrets from the server.
Okay, John, do you think he will succeed?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he'll succeed.
Okay, what if he doesn't? What do you do?
Doesn't succeed, I will procure the finest Intel branded swag I can find, and I will wear it for a day and proudly proclaim my love for all things.
That must be really hard for a person who's so in love with ARM. Okay, sounds like a good idea.
Sounds good. Sounds good.
Makes me want to lose on purpose.
Okay, so guess we can put 5 minutes on the clock.
Yeah.
Then Vedat,
and we are ready to go.
Okay. So the first thing you need to do, with the website is register. So I'm gonna register with my own name and with a username, and then join. And you see that this is almost exactly like Instagram. You can upload images. So I can upload an image of the beach. I can upload image of beach. I can apply effects to it. Basically, your standard Instagram clone, right? One of the features that it has is also added in the bio, so you can say.
Yeah. Vedat, can you try turning off the camera for a second? Because I think the bandwidth is limited. Let's just try.
Can I turn off what?
Just the webcam. Just turn off the, there's an eye symbol to turn off the webcam.
Okay. Give me a second. I'm turning off the webcam. Oh, it works better now. I can hear you actually.
Okay, perfect.
Okay, good.
Okay.
Okay, good. So yeah, the big thing about this is that it supports all kinds of file types.
Okay.
So you can, for example, upload images that are PNGs. You can upload images that are JPEGs.
Okay.
And it all works wonderfully. The problem with this is that it supports maybe too much. And it also supports SVGs. So SVGs are this really nice vector graphics format. And my hack seems to be broken. Wait. So I tried to upload an SVG image, and it tells me that it's broken. So, however, my image is gone. Well, okay. And if I try to view my image, it doesn't show it. So I broke something.
Okay, can you maybe analyze the image?
Yeah, actually, the web browser cannot display it, and it cannot display it because it looks something like this. So it's actually a key that I was able to leak from the system.
Whoa.
And, I guess this is the part where I explain how the remote code execution works.
Oh yeah. So the hack succeeded in time. So
yeah.
John doesn't have to fulfill his promise there.
I mean, I would still encourage him to do it.
Sure.
It would be fun.
Yeah, so now I'm gonna explain this very funky image that I have. And the image. So I told you that I'm gonna upload an SVG.
Yeah.
This SVG image is actually broken.
Yeah, it looks not normal.
It looks a bit broken, right? So the reason why this whole hack works and why many of these hacks worked in the past with file type confusion is that you have software that supports many different kinds of file types, and it can convert them between each other. So one such software is ImageMagick, and we all know this image tragic hack from a few years back where we had like I don't know, like at least 10 different vulnerabilities with this software, and the software is still used a lot. So it's used as the default image parser in PHP. It's used in a bunch of frameworks that generate thumbnails for web pages and so on. And this is a recently discovered hack. It was discovered in November and fixed within like 10 days because it was very critical. And this is the classical sanitization problem, and also file type confusion. So what we have here is SVG that is actually not an SVG. So only part of it is an SVG, but the format is an XML format. And how the parsing in this ImageMagick was done is that it basically tries to ignore all of this and only looks at the SVG part, and it thinks that it's an SVG image. However, also something that you can do with ImageMagick is kind of tell it with which kind of file parser to open it. And in this case, it's this magic styling language. And what this basically does is it gives you a way to interact with ImageMagick itself. So this is the first part of the this is the first part. So it allows you basically to craft an invalid file that it can then parse again as a different type of file. So this is this thing that we call polyglots, and they allow you to kind of smuggle in some code or files that otherwise would not be accepted.
Okay.
And another thing that's here. So this is the most important part here. So this authenticate. What this code does is it pretends that ECT password is actually a PDF file, and then tries to authenticate it and decrypt it with a password. However, the authors of ImageMagick did not do escaping correctly. So when this generates a command, you can imagine it as a system function in C. It generates a command and you terminate it, and then you can execute whatever you want.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
And in this case, I leaked some secret data that
Into your profile picture.
Exactly, and then you can
very nice.
Then you can push a GET request and get the data that way.
Yeah.
So, and in principle, you can execute pretty much anything. So if I had tried to execute ID here, you would see that I got root access actually because the server was running as root, which is a bad habit, but it made the demo easier for me.
So John, maybe one question to follow up. Vulnerabilities on the software level and the hardware level, it doesn't look like we are seeing less of them in the future. So what is your forecast?
Yeah, I think you're right. They're just going to continue to be out there. I think attacks like this one, the principle of least privilege is a key thing, and also moving. And I'm not trying to sound like I'm promoting containers here because they also have problems, but putting things inside sandboxes is critical. If you're doing any kind of image processing or manipulation, I mean, for goodness sake, don't let ImageMagick run as a regular user on your web server. Put it on a different host somewhere else. Have it inside some kind of sandbox, whether that's a container or whatever, some kind of blockchain hyped up technology, whatever it is, and then take the output from that, return it, and then do something. But don't.
But on the hardware level, how do you do that on the hardware level? Is that basically, are you basically advocating for things like SGX here?
Yeah, of course. Yes, definitely. Put everything inside SGX immediately. No, I.
But maybe.
I think with CPU, it's the same thing actually. The principle of least privilege, and in the same way that I say with software, you should shove something off to a different machine to do the work. For me, if you're doing anything with a CPU, you should always have the thing that you want secured, a security island, be a real island somewhere, physically separate, with as little sharing as possible. The idea that you do this inside a regular compute core is nonsense. But some people still nonsense. So
Yeah, yeah, and some people might also disagree, of course. Yeah, I guess it's important to elaborate, like to explore the different possibilities there to implement these secure islands. Well, I would say let's thank you for being here, and sorry, John, for running over time, and also sorry to everyone else for running over time. We took a bit longer at the beginning, but we are slowly catching up. And yeah, thank you, Vedat, for the hack. Congrats again. This was a really nice hack. And we will have the voting in the end where you might win. Best luck.
Happy holidays.
You too.
See you too.
Bye.
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 Okay, so maybe let's get back to my favorite topic. My favorite topic, Zoom. And this time, well, actually, we said before we wanted to talk about other messengers as well, and maybe this is a good point to mention WebEx.
Something that we use also at university, so yeah makes sense. And yeah, they've also been in the news, so it's not just Zoom who did get things wrong. As it turns out, that WebEx has a flaw that allows you by simply issuing HTTP requests to corrupt memory. And with that, you can then execute code as a root user. So another thing that's possible there is you can stealthily spy on meetings, so you're not even shown in the participant list. And you can also modify the database in the backend, so you can add whatever you want.
But they fixed those vulnerabilities, right?
As far as at least I hope so.
Yeah.
I mean, that was what in October, November. So yeah, and there's another messenger that is also quite frequently used.
Telegram, yeah.
I think quite a few students might use it as well. Quite a few of the people watching. And it turns out that if you're using Telegram, there's not as much privacy as some people.
Yeah, that's right.
And there's a very simple test, actually two tests to check that. Simply insert a message in the box, but do not send it. You already see like a preview of if it's like a link.
Yeah.
You add a link, for instance. We looked it up at Heise. They tested it and they added a link to the show, like they had used the honeypot, and they saw that the request did not come from the user, but it comes from the Telegram server. So it's sent to the Telegram server, and then the access is performed.
That makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
The second test is then just register a new phone in the web client, and you always get this code sent to authenticate that it's you. But do not enter the code. Simply enter flight mode on the phone, then enter the code on the in the browser, and all your messages are shown. But how is that possible? Where do the messages come from? It's not your phone because it's in flight mode. So it turns out all your messages, even the drafts that you never sent, are sent to the Telegram server and kept there.
Yeah.
Quite different than what WhatsApp does. And I think we haven't had a lot of shameless promotion of our work now. So
yeah. Actually, I was typing something into Google the other day, and I found this. There's a platypus controlling me. I mean,
platypus, they are nice animals. They look nice at least.
Yes, but of course we had this platypus paper, and this was a power cyclone attack that now works purely in software, where basically the processor itself provides the information that you usually would get from an oscilloscope that is attached to the hardware device.
That's actually quite a change. I mean, the first attacks in that case were shown, what, 1996?
Yeah.
So even before that, you had some in the Second World War. I think you had a few power sidechain attacks.
Oh yes, yes. This started in 1943. I think this was the first time
so
when we observed
before
this.
World War II.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's now also possible from software, and again, I think quite a nice contribution from our group to the security field.
Yeah, actually I thought we have the music video now here, but we don't, and instead we have the next guest, I think.
Actually our final guest now.
Our final guest. And this is Jiska Klaassen from TU Darmstadt.
Hi.
Hi.
Perfect.
Oh yes, this works very well. We can hear you.
Yeah, great.
So sorry that it's already that late. We went a bit over time already. So how is it in Darmstadt?
Yeah, I mean, we have some soft lockdown and it's dark outside, and yeah, you know.
Yeah, the same problems as in many places.
So something that we already had a little bit earlier, we had Manuel here with his band, and they won the Pony Award, and you recently also were nominated for Most Innovative Research, I guess, at the Pony Awards. Can you tell us something about your research? What's your expertise that got you nominated?
Yeah, so actually it was not just my work, but more like a group, so group effort on Bluetooth tooling for manipulating firmware on Bluetooth chips, and also some fuzzing tools that we wrote.
So you found several vulnerabilities in Bluetooth?
Exactly. So it's about Bluetooth firmware security research, and also the stack that goes upwards, and vulnerabilities in the hardware, like full stack Bluetooth research, tooling, vulnerabilities, everything.
That makes a lot of sense.
But still, you're using like Bluetooth headphones, right? So it's not all hope is lost, I guess.
Yeah, not all hope is lost. But I mean, also, so I think there will not be a Bluetooth form. So I hope that there will not be a Bluetooth form, because I mean that would crash very fast, and then you would get reports on the servers of Apple, and they would hopefully notice that. So I think there's just no such thing. So I mean, who knows? But that's my bet. So I continue using Bluetooth. I even use the exposure notification app and everything. So yeah.
So you are building up your own group now at TU Darmstadt with a lot of master students for now?
Yeah, I mean, I still have a boss. I'm just
of
like
course.
a postdoc.
Everyone has.
And still, when I was a PhD student, I already had something like 10 students that I supervised, at least during my last year. Yeah. And I mean, even in my first year in Darmstadt, when I just joined as a PhD student, I was teaching my own lecture. So I was always something in between. So like I really needed like a lot of time to finish my PhD on the one hand, but on the other hand, I did a lot of other things like teaching, traveling, and so on.
Sounds great. So are you currently looking for PhD students? I mean, we have quite a few students listening, so maybe maybe it's time for your turn to plug in your work. Promotion, I would say.
Yeah, so I'm looking actually for master bachelor students, because we currently don't have any PhD positions, I think, at least not in security. If people want to do like 5G performance stuff, we have a lot of positions there. So if you're interested in working like with the very expensive SDRs and do some full stack 5G, 6G research.
So I hear that people are asking about something about a unicorn. Can you tell us about
a unicorn? So yes, of course. So there's a unicorn. And that will also be the part, like if I lose, then I will post a picture of me, like a selfie, wearing a unicorn onesie, because of course I have a color matching unicorn onesie. And but I will do that in my home office, because that's funnier, so that like people know like when I'm writing those emails to some P-certs and whatever, so that they know like how serious I take my job.
Perfect. So
that's
I think
great.
That's also the perfect transition to get our hacker.
Let's see what the bet is.
Yeah.
Let's see. Do we already have Giacomo here? Hello? Ah, yeah, we can already see him. He's now there, here, somewhere.
Can you hear me?
We can hear you, yes.
Mm-hmm.
So, Giacomo, can you briefly introduce yourself?
Hi. Yes, I'm Asian computer engineering TU.
I think so the sound is a bit broken. I think he said he's a computer engineering student at TU Graz, but he's currently not in Graz.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, it's like that.
Mm-hmm. The audio is a bit broken, but it works mostly, I guess. So what is your hack about?
Hopefully you can see.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, we can see you.
Mm-hmm.
I want to steal the Wi-Fi password of this portable Wi-Fi.
Okay.
Okay. How much time do you need for that?
Password.
And the setup. Right. Yes.
But is it using some secure Wi-Fi standard like a WPA2? Well, if you consider it secure.
It's using
Okay.
WPA2. It's a Vodafone mobile Wi-Fi using the latest WPA2 standards.
Okay.
And my
latest there is
objective
WPA3.
That's right. Yeah. Okay, so 5 minutes or something would probably be enough. Ah, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's WPA2, right? So there have been at least some attacks in the past. So I don't know what the latest Vodafone is, but I mean, it's Vodafone, right? So I think that hack is doable. At least, like, demo gods and intercepting packets and frequency hopping, and I don't know, maybe all the streaming will just destroy his Wi-Fi. I don't know, but yeah, it should succeed.
It will work. It will work.
Yeah.
So, and you will finally get out the password, basically. Is that correct?
Right. At the end, I will get the password. This is
okay.
The final step.
Perfect. I think then let's try this. And how many minutes was it? I guess it was more than 5. 5. Okay.
Okay, I think time.
Yeah, let's start.
Time is running. Floor is yours.
So let's start. Oh, sorry, we already started.
Oh yeah. No, let's restart. Let's restart the timer. Let's restart the timer and maybe disable the webcam while hacking, because I think it takes away too much bandwidth. Yeah. Ah, yeah, that's better.
All right. So first things we want to do is.
Should I also stop my webcam then?
Oh no, it's I guess it's fine. I guess that's fine.
Can you go?
Yeah. Go ahead.
Okay, with iwconfig, we can list the Wi-Fi. We can see the where is W11, and we can see that it's in managed mode right now. To do what we want to do, which is actually steal packets, we want to put this card on mode, and to do that on Airmon NG, and we say start WL01. Okay, we did it. It tells us that these two processes might interfere with what we want to do, and it gives us a very useful command to kill those processes, which is Airmon NG check kill. So we do that, and then we can start looking at the Wi-Fi traffic near me with aero dump ng and the interface name. All right, so here we see a lot of data, but we are actually interested in the Vodafone mobile Wi-Fi, which is on channel 11. So we can filter that output, giving a dash C and then the channel number. So here on the top, we see the MAC address of the router. And what's important for us is the authentication method, which is PSK, which stands for pre-shared key, because we want to steal, of course, this pre-shared key. And down here, we see the MAC address of the devices connected to it. This is not associated with something else, but this MAC address right here is the MAC address of the phone, of my phone connected to it. So we will save this MAC address and the MAC address of the router for later. And now we prepare ourselves to actually capture the WPA handshake. So we say channel 11, we give a BSSID of, and we say the MAC address of the router, and then we tell him a file where to write the capture WPA handshake and the interface name. All right, so now we are ready to capture the WPA handshake. If we get one, it will show up here, WPA handshake. And we should wait now for a device to connect to it, but if we don't want to do that, we can disconnect the device already connected to it. And to do that, we use a replay ng. We say -0, meaning we want to send a deauthentication packet, just one, to the client, this one, and to the access point, this one, on the interface, this one. All right, here it goes. We got the WPA handshake, but now it's crypted. So we see we got this WPA01.cap. This contains the crypted WPA handshake. And to actually find the plain text password, the only possibility I know is to brute force this crypted handshake. So to do that, we will create a 1 million password from my Python script, and I made sure that this script also writes the the correct password into these 1 million password files. So now this pwlst contains 1 million password and also the correct password. And to test each one of these 1 million password, we use aircrack ng, and we tell him to the password dictionary to use, which I just created, and we tell him which is the captured packet .cap. And we can also tell him to write the correct password inside a file if we find one. So now it says 7 minutes. My CPU is already used a lot by Chrome.
Oh yeah.
Sorry for that, but this should last a lot less than.
Oh yeah. So we are taking now a lot of CPU time away with this stream. So
right, normally I have 5,000 K per second.
So and now it's how much? It's much less, right? Yeah, it's like 1,800. So okay. So I would say that still counts.
I would say it counts. I mean, we take a lot of processing time away from.
Yeah. I would say it counts.
So this is the password of the Wi-Fi.
So is that the passphrase or a phone number?
Sorry, this is the passphrase.
The passphrase. Yeah, looks good. Okay, so this is the passphrase. So we won the hack, and we thank at this point. I think we thank Giacomo for participating.
Very nice hack.
Yeah, very nice.
Really, I like the explanation. It was really good.
Yeah, very good. Jiska, what do you think? Will we have more problems in wireless networks in the future? I mean, we are introducing more and more secure standards.
I mean, if we wouldn't have more problems, then I would probably go out of work, right? So I definitely think we see more wireless attacks, especially because the tooling got better. So like a few years ago, you really had like to go somewhere with your SDR and stuff, and now you can hook into the operating system with Frida and see what happens and do fancy stuff. So that's like really a change, and I think we will see more attacks.
Yeah, that's of course concerning also. The question is how will we, I mean, we saw a lot of hacks today. How will we protect ourselves against all of these if there are going to be more of them? Do we need like something like a cyber insurance?
No cyber insurance. Obviously tinfoil. I mean, it's that is good against wireless communication. Other than this, probably use more encryption. Encryption is always a good idea. Encryption on top of encryption. So just don't trust your Wi-Fi. Just use like on top a VPN, you know, like a very portable network, and then you are secure.
And a strong password, right? Because if
yes,
I use
of course.
a 63 character password, I would never be able to brute force it.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Thank you both for joining us today, and I would say we just go through the few remaining slides.
Yes, I think there's like 2 or 3 stories.
Yeah.
So, yeah, Merry Christmas to both of you.
And have a nice evening.
Thank you.
Maybe also a good point to announce that, but I will also announce that again in the end. You can join us on our Discord afterwards if you like. Directly after this stream, we will start the IAIK game night, socializing and game night. And if many of you join, then probably there will be many different games also that are played.
Yeah.
So feel free to join there as well. But before that, we still have to go through the last headlines. And also, you will see a Menti link somewhere, and I will unlock the voting there pretty soon. So let's continue with the next slide.
Yeah. So this is more or less about back to Apple. We've seen, I think, one iOS security or Mac OS security issue before. And it's concerned with AirDrop and more or less Apple Wireless Direct Link, because it creates like a mesh network for AirDrop and also Sidecar. So Sidecar is, I'm not too familiar with Apple, I never used it really, but it's used to, I think, stream some video content or whatever on the screen. And it turns out that someone presented an attack which gives him complete control over your phone if you're simply in the vicinity of it.
Wow.
So you get more or less everything. So you can read all the photos, you can read all emails, you can copy all private messages, real-time monitoring of the device.
Wow.
Now also supported by iOS.
So that is not good for security.
No, not really. Another story we had back to our healthcare system.
That's of course a problem.
Previously, there's this provider, GE Healthcare, and it actually used default password for their CT, X-ray, PET scan devices, simply to ease maintenance. Turns out an attacker can easily connect these devices to a malicious server, and then can execute malicious code, view modified patient data.
Yeah.
And the really, really bad thing is that the customers cannot change the credentials themselves for maintenance. It needs, you actually need to contact GE, and they need to reset your password.
That's not good.
I'm not a big fan of that approach. This actually also had a severity rating of 9.8 out of 10.
Maybe a question, can we see already the Menti URL on the screen somewhere? Or do we have that somewhere? Yeah,
yes,
perfect.
We have it.
Perfect. But then we don't see the slides anymore. It's okay. It's also in the description of the YouTube video. So if you check the YouTube description, you will already be able to open the Menti there, and you will be able to vote there in the Menti for the best hack. And the best hack, of course, wins something. And we thought of a box of drinks like wine, beer,
just
or
to
anything
check,
you like.
How are the hacks enumerated? Are they like hack 1, hack 2 because something changed?
The name is there.
Okay, the name is there. Perfect. So yeah, we can get back then to something local in Austria. Back to COVID.
Yes.
we had these mass tests last week here.
Yeah, I've been there.
Yeah. It turns out we all know you have to pre-register.
Yeah.
To get an appointment. And the website wasn't too good, so it leaked the data of 800 citizens. It was also only available in German, so yeah, quite hard for people who are visiting students or so. And it was again built by a sub-company of A1, so they appeared now twice in our show.
But at least, I mean, there's no bad news, right?
Yeah, I mean,
there's no bad publicity.
Yes, I think that's the better
publicity.
So yeah, in the end, the site was taken offline, and they simply denied that. In the beginning, at least, they denied that it took place.
But then
afterwards, they admitted it.
Yeah.
Yes.
In December, this was a bit later than planned, but it took place then. The Pony Awards, and the Pony Awards, there was also Manuel from that we've had before in the stream was involved there, and we won the best song award there this year. Yiska was nominated for most innovative research. We had most epic fail nomination for Microsoft.
Yes, I don't remember quite what they did wrong, but it must have been epic. It's the award. And also lamest vendor response went to DGB.
Yeah,
everyone in the crypto community, I guess, knows him.
Yeah.
But yeah, you mentioned best song award.
Best song, yeah. Let's take a look at that.
Another song.
Yes, of course.
Oscilloscopes are not the same without a probe. And baby, if it's remote, if it's not code, it cannot run. Oh, 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 I let him flood. Let's see what he's got. Oh, 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 I let him flood. Let's see what he's got. Can't read mine, no, he can't read on my power trace. Can't read mine, no, he can't read on my power trace. Power trace, power trace. Power trace, power trace. Power trace, power trace. Power trace, power trace.
So again, I think very, very nice music video, nice song.
Yeah.
I think that was the last part was shameless promotion of our work.
Of course.
I think it was part 4.
No, I didn't count. I
forgot the overview there.
What do we have next up? There was more news in December,
yes,
actually, right until before the Christmas special.
Yes, so this is the last story that we have. Last week it started with the announcement that FireEye, a very, very prominent company in the industry sector, in the information security sector, they got hacked and their offensive tools got stolen that they use for pen testing. Initially, Russia was suspected simply because it's a very targeted and one of the most sophisticated attacks in years. The CIA is not involved there, so they were excluded because they partly own the company, so why should they hack their own company? But that was originally what we had planned to run with here, because that was everything that we knew about it. But then this week, it turns out there's a little bit more to the story. It's not just FireEye that got hacked, but it turns out that SolarWinds, a company that provides a lot of infrastructure software for companies, simply included their password on GitHub. Not a good idea. This ended then in a supply chain attack, because attackers, I think it's still believed that it was Russia, were able to embed code in the updates. The updates were then distributed to 18,000 companies, and the attack was then only discovered because the attackers tried to register a device in the FireEye network, and they got like a prompt that there's someone from outside is trying to register the device. And by now, it's a matter of national security, so it involves the FBI, the Office of the Director of Naval Intelligence, or National Intelligence, I think, the NSA, CISA, the White House, Congress, and so on.
Wow.
Simply because the potential victims are firearm, the United States Treasury, Department of Homeland Security, State Department. So really, really bad situation.
So do you also have the password, what they used?
I think it was SolarWinds123.
So SolarWinds123.
Not a good password. But one thing
it's better than Hunter 2, maybe. It has more characters.
But one thing that I thought was really, really interesting in this story was that Microsoft flexed some muscles there. They showed that they are still one of the biggest players in this field, because within 4 days they revoked the certificate that was used by the software. They updated Windows Defender so that it can identify the malicious code. Then it sync-told the command and control server. So this is more or less, they went to court, they asked, can we take over this domain that is used?
Yeah.
They got the permission, took over the server, and then proceeded with quarantining the application, which was very important to stop this. So this was very, very interesting that Microsoft was able to do this within 4 days. But this just today it was announced that they are also a victim. So with that, I think
we are ready for the vote. So we should have a Menti view here. Yes, perfect. And you get to vote now, and we want to know from you which was your favorite hack. We had Martin, who showed the privilege escalation on Windows. We had Robert with the kernel rootkit that stayed hidden. We had Marcel with the Ubuntu privilege escalation. Then we had Thomas with the hack of the industrial device, where he was able to execute commands. Then we had Giacomo with the cracking of the WPA2 password, and then Vedat with this interesting SVG file that was able to execute commands on the server. And it looks like we
have a clear favorite.
Let's just wait a minute until everyone can vote. So
I'll get the Jeopardy music.
Yeah, it's very nice. You can wait a bit.
Still a clear favorite. Vedat is pulling.
Yeah, most people are just getting the device out and typing in the number. Okay, this looks good.
Would be interesting if someone vote like a bot for it to vote.
Let's wait maybe until 1 minute is over. Maybe. Okay, so we still can wait a bit more. So basically, we are already at the end of this show. We are very sorry that in the beginning some things didn't work as expected, but as said, someone stumbled over the cable. Maybe it was me, and yeah.
But I would say it was the first time that we did something.
Yeah,
like
and in the end, it was working more stable.
It was a very interesting experience to do that.
Many learnings from this. And I think at this point, this was almost a close race between Marcel and Vedat here. And I would say this is already the point where we can say that Marcel is the winner of the vote.
The question is, does anybody want a recount of the votes?
No recount.
Okay.
Let's maybe invite Marcel back into the stream. Congratulations, Marcel.
Thank you very much.
This was a very nice hack, and the people really liked it.
Supermother, nice.
So, what do you drink? Beer or wine?
I prefer beer.
Okay, then you will get a box of beer. We will, like a crate of beer, and we will align after the show on which beer and how we get it to you.
I mean, we can just put it in his office.
He
has an office. So
okay, perfect. With that, we are at the last part of the show, and I think we will skip the Q&A. There will be no questions today. No. We would like to thank you for being here, and it's exactly 8, so we just took 1 hour longer than expected. Feel free to join our Discord. I think the Discord link might be in the YouTube description, the video description. If it's not, it will be there in a few minutes. Just refresh the page. Indicate when to. Yeah. So maybe we can also show the Discord. Do we have the Discord link? Can we show it somewhere on the screen? I don't know.
Well, I think we'll just add
the Discord link, because right now we would continue with the games night. So we will also be in Discord, and we can continue chatting there if you want to. And the Discord link will be in the description of this YouTube video in a second. Yeah, with that, we are already at the end of our show, and I think this is a point where we can,
you need to finish your thought.
Yeah, where we can start with thanking everyone. Thanks for everyone involved. Thanks Maria, who did the director in the background. Lucas Gina and Lucas Lamster for all the guests. Thank you. And with that, we're done. Merry Christmas, everyone, and good New Year.